What effect will China's economic meltdown have on America? Recent news suggests that the Chinese economy is in a downward spiral, and some are now predicting that the country's real estate market might enter a full-blown crisis. So whether or not you believe that we're already in recession, it's essential to understand that these new developments in China are not isolated to just China. The Chinese economy is the second largest in the world, and much of what happens in China will affect how our economy performs down the road. If trends continue, we could be headed into an economic crisis. But is anyone prepared? Are you? Hi, and welcome to another video of Financense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. With China's economy accounting for 1/3 of global GDP, what effect will China's economic meltdown have on America and the rest of the world? Stay tuned to learn more. But before we delve into the topic, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to stay up to date on our videos. Without further ado, let's head on to the video. China is struggling as a result of the collapse of its $7 trillion real estate empire, and experts are concerned that this downturn in the Chinese economy might act like a snowball and drag the globe into a worldwide crisis. About 1/3 of China's GDP is directly tied to the industrial sector, and U.S. consumers often purchase goods manufactured in China. Meanwhile, the real estate market accounts for another 1/3 of China's GDP. Here we have real estate investments, developers, contractors, and everything in between, along with anything else. Real estate accounts for a sizable share of China's GDP. And around the middle of August 2022, data claiming that the Chinese economy is deteriorating rather swiftly because of their collapsing real estate sector and the rigorous lockdowns currently taking place today to battle COVID-19 has astonished several economists. Now that the economy is slowing down, the government plans to begin lowering interest rates as a stimulus. However, let's back up and clarify things. When interest rates are raised, money is withdrawn from the economy, which reduces inflation. However, when interest rates are lowered, money is added to the economy, leading to more inflation. Now that the economy as a whole is faltering, central banks around the world are dropping interest rates in an effort to boost consumer spending. This arises even though interest rates were already reported at record highs in August. So, with inflation reaching record highs in a faltering economy, the central bank is seeking to boost the economy by cutting interest rates, which will only exacerbate the inflation problem even worse in the long run. Now, let's revisit the original topic, the enigmatic ins and outs of China's real estate sector. As far as real estate crises go, China is experiencing one of the worst in its history. People in China are typically quite adept at putting money away and saving money, unlike those in the United States who put their money in savings accounts and stocks. Chinese citizens typically put their savings toward purchasing a home or condominium rather than a bank account or other liquid investment fund. It's important to note that how individuals invest in properties in China differs from how some people invest in real estate in the United States. In China, homebuyers often pay in full before construction is even begun on a property, a practice known as a pre-sale. Pre-sales account for around 70 to 80% of all real estate transactions in China. Developers can rejoice at this development since they can now promote the construction of a home and sell it for $150,000 before spending any money on building the property altogether. With that $150,000, you can pay $80,000 to $100,000 on the home's construction. If you're a smart developer, you'll put that extra cash to use by expanding your business to construct 2 more properties. How do you do it? You get 2 new clients and market these 2 new properties for, say, $150,000 apiece, and then you carry out the same plan. Receive the money up front and spend $80,000 to $90,000 on the developers so that they can create the property for each of them, and so on. The more buildings you create, the more cash you make, and you don't need to invest all of this capital up front. Now you can construct a big real estate investment portfolio and perhaps get a tiny percentage of the income as you share. This strategy worked out well since people bought the house before construction began. As a result, for the past few years, China's real estate market has been thriving, which has been excellent for developers as they have generated a significant amount of money. It was also good for the Chinese GDP since it has benefited the nation's economic growth and is terrific for house owners and savers since home values have been rising steadily over this period. Investors were reaping huge profits and everything seemed to be working perfectly, until it all started to unravel. When the system is functioning well, it may make many individuals very rich. However, they now need two things to make this work. First, you need to increase the number of individuals buying homes, and second, potential homeowners must have access to sufficient financial resources. So, let's talk about the first one, which is increasing the number of individuals buying homes. For 60 years, China's population has been declining due to restrictive policies like the one-child policy, which states that families may have no more than one child. Since China's population is decreasing, the country is struggling to meet the demand for housing at a time when both the number of individuals who can afford to purchase a property and the number of citizens with disposable income have shrunk over the past decade. Like the global economy, the Chinese economy is weakening and experiencing rising inflation. Consequently, living expenses have increased not only due to their system but also the overall upswing we're seeing because of constant money printing. Further, as the Chinese economy is shrinking, people are finding it difficult to find work in their previous fields. Because of this, the Chinese central bank has begun cutting interest rates rapidly despite the country's high level of inflation. This is done in an effort to stimulate the economy. Nevertheless, since the system has begun to fail, four primary groups have been negatively affected: developers, bankers, citizens, and governments. Firstly, a few of the builders were being greedy. Instead of paying their builder in a single payment, they used the proceeds from the sale of another home to pay the first builder, and so on, as doing so would allow them to invest the proceeds from the second sale in the construction of a third home more quickly. This worked well when the market was booming, but as Warren Buffett puts it, when the tide goes out, that's when you see who's been swimming naked. As a result, developers in China have now been suffering as they haven't been able to generate enough revenue to finance the construction of additional housing units. Second, due to individuals skipping their mortgage payments, financial institutions like banks and mortgage lenders are also feeling the pinch. This happens because they are losing money on loans made to people whose houses are either unfinished or otherwise uninhabitable. Third, the citizens of China are greatly affected as well. Eventually, they were dissatisfied to the point of inciting widespread civil disturbance in the country. When the economy is in a slump, inflation is sky high, and homeowners are left holding the bag after overpaying for homes they never received or watching the worth of their houses plummet. Lastly, all of this ends with the government having a hard time due to the failing economy, unhappy citizens, developers, and bankers. Now, the government has just enacted a 9-figure stimulus bill and is negotiating with central banks to lower interest rates to jumpstart the economy. Next, they're attempting to aid developers in securing some funds, effectively bailing themselves out for them to finish some of their works and escape their situation. Many individuals worry that the government's stimulus plan won't be adequate and that this will have far-reaching effects. If China's economy, the world's second biggest, begins to fail due to the real estate bubble that appears to be bursting at any moment, things might go unpleasant very quickly. Economists, central banks, and governments are keeping an eye on these factors. In today's globally interconnected economy, however, this is precisely what you also should be keeping an eye on. There is no sign that the current economic recession is ending anytime soon. so it's essential to keep learning and be prepared for the worst. So, what does all this imply for you? Should you book a flight to China in search of affordable property? Since many laws and customs in China are foreign to Americans, the answer is most likely no. However, it is crucial to be financially informed and ready to take advantage of the potential investment possibilities that may arise due to a further slowdown in the United States economy and a compounding of the current recession. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and subscribe as it would help us extend our reach to many audiences. Also, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. This is Financense, helping you keep up with all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. See you in the next video.